Welcome to this session of the Bottom Line at TTG. Today I have Mal, and we're going to talk about hanging signs. So Mal, what are the benefits of hanging signs?
Well, when you first think about a hanging sign, the most obvious thing, you don't use a hanging sign unless you have at least a 20 by 20 space, which is 400 square feet.
Okay.
But what most people do who don't use a hanging sign, when you think about it, from 10 feet up, that 400 square feet is part of that. And you're missing out on all that space. So to me, the great benefit of using a hanging sign is that you maximize the space that you're given.
And when does it make sense to consider one?
Well, like I said, to me, anytime you have an island, I think you should consider one. But really, objectively, what you're trying to do is get a lot more attention. You've got that extra space. You're up over 20 feet when you use a hanging sign. So anytime you're looking to be seen in a crowded show floor space, a hanging sign is great.
Great, higher visibility makes sense.
Without a doubt.
So what options are there in the world of hanging signs?
There are as many options in hanging signs as there are exhibits. You have every size imaginable. You have circles, squares, diamonds, everything in between. We can actually take hanging signs and make them look like your logo in the same shape. We also, if you look around the showroom here, we have large swooping curves. We have hanging signs within hanging signs, which is really cool. And then, of course, you can do things like complete LED panels that make up the hanging sign or projection into the hanging sign as well. So an infinite number of ways that you can do hanging signs, all of which, gathers a lot of attention.
So speaking of drawing attention, do hanging signs actually work? Do they produce results?
100%. For years, we've been saying to our customers, the things that you have to do at a trade show to grab attention are use large format graphics, backlighting, or motion. Hanging signs can do all of that. And there's actually a really cool study. Deloitte & Touche did this study at the Mall of America up in Minnesota. And they took a hanging sign, a large hanging sign, and they placed it in the middle of the Mall of America. This was huge, probably a 30-foot diameter.
Wow, okay.
And then as people left the Mall of America, they interviewed them. And at first, when it was just a hanging sign, they still had a 36% retention. They could remember the name of the company 36% of the time. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Well, when they then took that same hanging sign and they lit it, so it was backlit, that retention level went up almost 20% to something around 55%. But they then took that same backlit hanging sign and they rotated it. And because of that rotation and that movement combined with the large format graphic and the backlighting, their retention rate went up to almost 90%.
Wow.
So it absolutely works. And again, with all the visual noise that there is in a trade show hall, to be able to get that extra bit of awareness from your customers is huge.
And be able to stand out for sure.
Without a doubt.
So what challenges are there around hanging signs?
Well, whenever you're using a hanging sign, first of all, you have to make sure that they're allowed. Not all venues, especially small ballrooms, don't always allow hanging signs. But if you're allowed to use a hanging sign, the big challenge is going to be cost. Because hanging signs, you have to hire the rigging union to come in and hang the sign for you. And that costs a significant amount of money depending upon how complex the sign is. The use of the fabric signs that we've talked about and we've shown here in our showroom, those are going to be much less expensive because in some cases they only require one pick point. Some larger signs, when you get beyond a certain size, you then have to have truss-supported hanging signs, which becomes even more expensive because you have to hang truss first. But also remember that you can use a hanging sign that's ground supported, meaning that we can create beams that go up to the sign that can support it from the ground, and then you avoid all those costs. So those are the primary challenges with using a hanging sign.
Okay, great. A great workaround as well, as you mentioned with the beams.
Absolutely.
So what is the bottom line?
Well, the bottom line is hanging signs work, and if you're going to have an island space, utilize the whole space. Don't just utilize the bottom level of the space. Go up, get creative, use custom hanging signs, use backlit hanging signs, use motion. All these things will help you get a lot more attention.
Mal, thanks so much for joining me today. Thanks everyone for joining this session of the Bottom Line at TTG, and we'll see you next time.